deadly disease using toothpaste. Would you believe I got a deadly disease from using toothpaste? Of all the things to get sick from, something that's supposed to keep you healthy. Of all things. It was a while back, but it's one of those things that happen to you that are so significant, you start to think of your life in two stages: before the big event and after. I never had a lot of money and grew up poor. My parents had to come to America from Colombia to give me and my brothers a better life. I think when you grow up poor, you either go two ways. Like my brothers, you can become super materialistic and obsessed with money. They had always wanted desperately to fit in. They wanted the clothes, the house, the car, whatever the other kids our age had. There were definitely lots of kids our age at our school who weren't rich, but as far as we knew, no one was poorer than us. We lived in a tiny little house at the edge of a dodgy road. Every house was dilapidated and there were lots of gang troubles. We managed to stay out of it, but it still wasn't the best way to grow up. We dreaded those letters sent home asking for money for school supplies or field trips or whatever it was. The look on our mother's face when she saw them and the stress of trying to think of where she would come up with money was hard to see. There were times I would just crumple up the letter, tell the teacher we didn't have enough money, and sit out, not even show my mom. Basically, I got creative with ways to make money from a young age. My brothers wanted money to keep up with what everyone else had, and I wanted money to give my parents so they didn't have to work as hard. I just wanted to have my own money so I didn't have to ask them for anything. When I was 16, we finally got a computer. Not only was I pretty much the only kid around who didn't have a phone of their own, we were also the only household with no computer. When a neighbor got rid of an old one to upgrade to a newer one, they offered it to us. And having the internet really opened up the world to me. One day, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw an ad for online ways to make money. I was intrigued. If I could find stuff to do from home that I could get paid for, what could be better than that? I'd come across an ad for being an online mystery shopper where you basically use stores and companies' online shopping site and reported on the experience. It didn't pay huge amounts, but the really good thing was the company that you reviewed would often send you gift cards and free samples in the mail. My mom was thrilled to get fancy lotions, gift cards, and all sorts of things sent to the house. In actual dollars, I still wasn't making enough to really help out around the house though. Another day, I saw a new ad to be a product tester. You could get a box of products in the mail, try them all out, and then review them. This paid pretty well, and you got to keep all the products after too. My brother figured out how to sell a lot of them online, so in that way it worked out. We would keep what we needed or have had to buy anyway, and my older brother started a little business going up out street door to door to sell the extras. Working together, we were getting more money coming into the house and it was really helping out. Things were seeming too good to be true. And then they were. One day, I got a sample box from Thailand. The thought of trying things that came from such a far-off, exotic place fascinated me. The box was huge when it arrived. I hadn't gotten such a big one before. I opened it up, and there were smelly soaps, shampoos, toothpaste, toothbrushes, pretty much everything. I gave my mom all the makeup and girly stuff to try, and I got to work trying everything and writing my reviews. I'd read an article about being careful of products that came from some of the Asian countries, but I definitely didn't expect what happened to me in the end. I tried a toothpaste, and the request was to use it every day until the tube was gone to see its full efficiency. It was just a small tube, but I used it for about 2 weeks before it ran out. By the end of that 2 weeks, I started to feel sick. Really sick. I had no energy, couldn't hold down food, and I was not a healthy color. I was pale and sickly looking. I got up one morning, I shuffled my way to the washroom and caught sight of my reflection in the mirror. I could barely recognize myself. I had dark circles around my eyes, my skin was whitish gray color, my hair looked thinner, and I had lost a lot of weight. I was curious how much weight I'd lost in the 2 weeks I'd been sick so far and stepped on the scale. When the needle settled on a number, I was shocked to see that I'd lost over 20 pounds. Something serious must be wrong. We had all thought that I had the flu or something, but I was starting to realize that this was pretty extreme. I felt myself swooning, like I was going to faint. There was blackness at the end of my vision, and it was starting to close in so that I was looking through a narrow path of light and vision surrounded by encroaching black. That was the last thing I remember before waking up on the bathroom floor, face down with my glasses at the opposite end of the room. I'd never fainted before, and it was a very strange feeling to wake up sore and on the floor with no idea how you got there. I pulled myself up slowly, just in time to hear my mom coming up the stairs. I called to her, and when she opened the door, she cried out for my dad to come and help. That was the day we all knew something serious was happening to me. When my parents took me to the doctor, I was given a whole bunch of needles, blood taken, thoroughly examined, and asked a ton of questions. After the blood work came back, I was told I had a very rare form of cancer. My parents and I sat there with our mouths open. How was this possible? I was only 16. I was told it was serious and that I should prepare myself to die. They said my internal organs weren't doing so well and that they could go in and take out as much as they could, but just to buy me some more time. My parents asked how much time surgery would buy me and if there was a possibility that they could get it all out and cure me. The doctor said they really never knew what was going on until they opened a person up, but that was very unlikely. When they opened me up, they took out a huge portion of my liver and nodules from my lungs. They took samples and found out something that blew my mind. It really did. A week after the surgery, they called us into the office with some big news. They were confused because the follow-up blood work showed the cancer was completely gone, but it also showed up something else. Apparently, it wasn't cancer after all. It was a parasite. The doctors asked if I'd recently traveled to a foreign country, which of course the answer was no to. But then it occurred to me, I haven't traveled anywhere, but I've been recently using products from Thailand. Anything you've been ingesting? The doctors asked. I told him about the toothpaste, and he asked if I still had it. I'd kept the container as I always did until my reviews were finished and sent in. I had to take in pictures of me using it too, and I got into the habit of doing it at the end of the trial. I went back in with the tube and it was sent away for testing. It came back positive for the same exotic type of tapeworm. It caused a massive infection that looked like cancer and was eating away at my organs. The doctor said it was like finding the holy grail of parasites. It was rare and had hardly been documented at that point. Lucky me, I said with a laugh when they told me that. They asked if my case could go to a medical journal and if they could assign some medical students to my case as it was such a rare learning experience. I consented, of course. It was awful. I became one of those weird stories that went viral overnight. All the radio stations were talking about the kid that got a parasite from a toothpaste sample and was told he was dying of cancer. Everyone was wanting to know the full story, and my brothers said they were being bombarded at school and on Facebook to put up pictures of my experience. I definitely had a new lease on life, but I had to get well enough first. They did another surgery to get the tapeworm out, which of course was tricky to do. They found it and kept it in a jar to show me. It was as long as my hand and really gross. The doctor told me that it wasn't as rare as you would think and that people were always coming back from holiday with more than just a tan and some souvenirs. I was admitted to the hospital while they observed me and gave me some heavy medication that would fight the massive infection and kill any other tapeworm or eggs that may have been left behind after the surgery. One good thing is, after thinking you have a deadly form of cancer, a little parasite infection seems pretty minor. I had to stay in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. I was feeling stronger every day, but that infection had taken a lot out of me, not to mention having part of my liver removed. My brothers were still peddling their wares up and down the street, but we decided that I wouldn't send away for sample kits from foreign countries anymore, and we'd just stick to the American companies, and there were plenty of those. When I was released from the hospital, it was a good day. Most people said things like, "I can't believe how unlucky you were. Such a rare parasite. What are the odds?" I didn't see it that way though. I always chose to look on the bright side. A skill I think being poor really teaches you. I saw myself as incredibly lucky. It could have been cancer after all, or that infection could have killed me, as it very well almost did. From then on, my family and I got into the habit of checking where everything we used came from. We didn't want to risk what happened to me happening again. Although my mom was nervous about me testing samples again, my promise was to only use American companies, eased her mind, and life continued on as it had before.
To watch more animated story videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And tell us in the comments section what you thought about this story.